What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today, I wanted to give Swampert a go here in the new season. I've seen so many Diggersby and Deni cores in the meta right now, and Swampert is one of the best picks to core break those two Pokemon. I went 12-3 and an 80% win rate with this team. It was a lot of fun, so let's get into the battles and see what this team can do. Let's get right on into it here. We can see the team is a classic Swampert plus Flyer in the backline team. The Flyers obviously can protect against the grass types, and Swampert very good into most of the other meta. We see a Talonflame lead as well as an Annihilate safe swap. I've seen this Pokemon as a safe swap pretty recently, quite often in the Go Battle League, so very happy that I have her Shadow Drifblim. I can go for a 1 shield complete Astonish down against this thing, and come out of this matchup loaded and almost at full HP. This matchup is so great for us here, too, that we can probably get both shields from this Talonflame. I could bait with an Icy Wind here if I wanted to, but I also know that Shadow Ball is a guaranteed knockout or a guaranteed shield. We do draw that shield here. Our opponent does shield up that first one. Do they want a double shield when they know I have a Swampert in the backline? Let's see what our opponent's going to do. Shadow Ball being thrown, our opponent opts to shield a second time here, which is fine by me. I'm so good into the Talonflame. I don't want to give him any more farm than they have already gotten. I do bait out a Gastrodon, which is not ideal for a Shadow Drapion, but honestly at this point, we still have our own Drifblim, as well as maybe the possibility to get to 2 crunches here, which means that now Gastrodon, while it is generally a counter to Shadow Drapion, is going to go down here with a lot of energy. We're not quite, okay, well we do Poison them down here, our opponent opts to let it go, and in comes that Talonflame once again. I know this Pokemon could be a little bit tricky up energy, but I can make them throw a full-on fly against our Shadow Drifblim before I can get to another move, and because of this, now I can just swap into our Swampert. They actually undercharge here, which means that I do survive the attack, but Swampert has too much energy, our opponent realizes that, and they end up top lefting. GG to them. Next game is a Macargo lead. We saw the Talonflame, now the Macargo, a much better fire type for us to see here. Our Swampert just hard walls that thing, and once again, an Annihilate on the safe swap. This Pokemon, in my opinion, is not the safest Pokemon to swap out in a Dedenne meta, but especially not in a meta with Dedenne and Ghost types everywhere. With that said, I can just go for that 1 shield full Astonish down once again here, knock out the Ape, have almost 100 energy for this Macargo when it comes back in. In comes our first Shadow Ball. This one might not be able to knock them out. Macargo is a little bit bulkier than Talonflame, but they might still shield it up. Let's see what's going to happen. They do shield. In comes our next Shadow Ball. Do we get a second shield from our opponent? In comes a move. Our opponent is going to actually shield up once again here. I think they might be forced to throw energy before I can get to their Icy Wind, so they will throw the energy against us. And now Swampert can come in, absorb all of the damage, hit to a Hydro Cannon, and hopefully our Shadow Drapion has play in the back. We have Switch Advantage, we have Shield Advantage, and we have the Drapion into Superior Advantage. This means at this point, Swampert gets to avoid the bad matchups in the backline, and Shadow Drapion can neutralize this Grass-type Pokemon. Frenzy Plant being thrown, it does do about half of our HP, but we have a shield, we have so much energy here. GG to our opponent, not much they could do. Next matchup, Swampert in the lead into a Wigglytuff. Honestly, not quite as good as the 2 fire types I just saw in the lead, but it is still playable, right? They might go for a very annoying play where they shield both times, they don't even throw a charge move, and they farm us all the way down. If that is what they go for here, this matchup could be a little bit annoying, because they would have so much energy for our backline right now, but in comes our next Sludge, and since they haven't thrown a move yet, I would assume they're not planning on it. They're probably just going to tap their screen and try to win the game that way. And we get this next Sludge, just barely we get knocked out with a charge move. That would have been so huge if we could have landed that attack. But now Shadow Drapion can come in here, and in comes a Gastrodon, actually, into our Drifblim. Now, since they did safe swap this Pokemon, there is a chance this Gastrodon is running Water Pulse, and I've seen Wigglytuff double Mud Slap so many times in my day, so I think at this point, there's a good chance they are having another Mud Slapper in the backline. They did Earth Power us, so maybe a wasted shield, but honestly, I probably would have shielded one of these anyway, given that I do want to keep my Drifblim around. They have a lot of energy left over on that Wigglytuff, but at this point, I have 2 Icy Winds ready to go. Down goes our defense stat. Earth Power did end up lowering our defense stat, but it won't really matter here if it is another Mud Slapper in the backline. In comes our first Icy Wind. In comes our second. Our opponent actually not throwing the Icy Wind. Very interesting play by them. So now I get to knock them out, keep our shield. What is their final Pokemon going to be? In comes a Marowak. Actually, just a regular Marowak, not even a Shadow. Very interesting Pokemon to see, but Icy Wind already has been reached. We have energy as well on our Shadow Drapion, so this game is more than over at this point. We can bring it in, go for the Aqua Tail, outpace them to a move, and take the win here in this game. Again, so Wigglytuff double Mud Slap. You love to see it. GG there to them. Next game, let's see what Swampert has in store. It's going to be a Shadow Scizor, one of the most common leads I've seen here in this season. First time seeing it today. It is a little bit more awkward than you might expect. While I do resist the bullet punch damage, the longer this goes on, the closer I get to Night Slash range. In fact, in the 2-shield matchup, Shadow Scizor just straight up wins, so I don't really want to stay in there as long as they probably would want me to. I instantly swap out to our Shadow Drapion, knowing that at this point I resist all of the energy. In comes a Trailblaze, so probably a smart play. Maybe they can farm us down now before I get to 2 Aqua Tails. In comes our first Aqua Tail. How much damage, though, will these boosted bullet punches do? Our opponent actually gets a full farm down against us. A bit of a misplay by us here, honestly. We're in a bit of a bad spot now. I have to probably shield my Swampert if I want to knock this Pokemon out. Maybe my Drifblim has play, though, in the backline. I've seen a lot of Shadow Caesar double Ghost, and a Ghost with a shield advantage in the backline could potentially put in some play. In comes that Night Slash here. I do shield the first one since it could have been a Trailblaze. This one I know for a fact is just another Night Slash. We can survive. In comes our Hydro Cannon, but our opponent with a fantastic catch on a Blastoise. One of my favorite Pokemon from last season here. Blastoise is going to put in work into our team right now. I know Rollout as well as Hydro Cannon will basically knock out our Shadow Drifblim. I'm going to be forced to probably go for a full-on Shadow Ball to knock them out too, so this is looking a little bit tricky. In comes our charge move here after 3 Astonishes. I want to get as much energy as we possibly can before getting knocked out here. I know Shadow Caesar is still around, but potentially I can still farm them down. I don't know if they can reach on a Night Slash or not. It's going to be close. Our opponent does get farmed down. What is the last Pokemon going to be? It's a Clodsire. All right, this is playable. I was hoping for like a Jellicent or something that I could just one-shot with a Shadow Ball. But potentially here, if they're on Sludge Bomb, maybe I can survive the Sludge Bomb, get to 2 Icy Winds, or if they're on Stone Edge, maybe, and this is going to be a shot in the dark here, but maybe my Swampert is healthy enough to reach a Charge Move. Sludge Bomb does come through, so that does knock us out with the debuff, but can we survive 5 Poison Stings here with Swampert? We can. We reach the Hydro Cannon on what is almost certainly 1 HP here, going for the Hydro Cannon to knock out this Clodsire, and we are just barely able to take the win here in this game. Not the most comfortable win, but we'll take it nonetheless. Next game, Swampert into Shadow Jumpluff. All right, the grass type, not exactly what you want to see as a water and ground type Pokemon, but we do have access to Sludge as well as 2 Pokemon in the backline that are generally considered some of the best counters to Jumpluff in the game. We have Crunch ready to go against this Gastrodon. A lot of Gastrodons today, I guess. We reached the first Crunch here. The second Crunch will likely knock them out potentially, and because I know this is just a Body Slam, I think we might be able to survive and still get the second Charge Move off. Yeah, we do survive here. We give them 1 more Mud Slap of energy, but I would absolutely love for them to shield this move right now. In comes a Crunch, in comes a Shield as well as a Defense Drop. A rare thing to see after that Crunch nerf here this season, but we can still go in with our Swampert, absorb a Body Slam if that's all they're going to throw against us, and build up as much energy as we need. While our Drifblim is our better counter to this Pokemon, I also know that Swampert with a lot of energy can put in work into that Jumpluff, so instead I'm going to build up energy there, go for a nice little catch on our Shadow Drifblim, and try to use energy across the board to our advantage. Not exactly what you want to see, though, in the backline here. It's going to be a Deni, a Pokemon that is going to be able to not only boost their defense stat, but do a lot of fast and charge pressure into our Shadow Drifblim. I could go instantly for a Shadow Ball here, but honestly, I don't really know if I even want to knock them out at this point. If I go for the Ice Wind, even if they no-shield, I can shield farm down, have energy for that Jumpluff later on. So while Jumpluff, or Drifblim rather, is not that great into the Dedenne here, it's going to be able to farm them all the way down and potentially go for an Icy Wind into this Jumpluff. We have so much energy still left over on our Swampert, right? That's why we wanted to dance around in this matchup, and they're still going to be forced to throw a Charge Move to knock out our Drifblim here. They throw pretty early, which means they don't have a lot of energy in the tank, but I need to make sure at this point that I can land the 2 Sledges into this Jumpluff and that no catch ends up happening. In comes our first Sledge here. Our opponent does not make a catch just yet. We are 1 more Mudshot away from the next move. Let's see if our opponent is going to call it or not. In comes our next Sledge here. I'm going to keep on waiting. I'm going to wait a turn, make sure I see that fast move animation come through. We are able to throw this Sludge into the proper target, and as long as we don't get Mudslap down here, we should be able to win this match. Gastrodon comes back in. We can Mudshot down or potentially just outpace this Hydro Cannon, which should be able to mean that we are going to win this game. Hydro knocks out that Gastrodon, and GG to our opponent. Swampert putting in so much work, even against the Grass-type Pokemon. Next game, another Caesar in the lead. I've seen this Pokemon so often this season. It's so awkward for my Swampert as well. As I said, these bullet punches are resisted. Okay, this is interesting. Our opponent actually ends up swapping out to a Dusclops. I'm going to go for a catch on a Shadow Punch here. Looks like it is going to end up working out for us. Shadow Punch does come through. Doesn't do too much damage to our Shadow Drapion, but I'd have to imagine the reason they swapped out is because they have a Jellicent in the back line. Jellicent being one of the best damage sponges to a Swampert in the entire game. Ice Punch this time being thrown. Our opponent can potentially knock us out with the next move here. It's going to be close, though. I know Shadow Drapion is pretty bulky, despite the fact that it's a Shadow, and Dusclops is not exactly the most offensive Ghost type in the game. In comes a charge move, likely going to be that Ice Punch here, but I think I can survive the attack. We can, and potentially, if I can survive this Hex plus 1 more, if they end up shielding, I can get both shields, or potentially just knock out this Dusclops and get another move off against whatever they have in the back. We do survive that next Hex here, which means another Aqua Tail has been reached. Do they want to go down 2 shields? They have a Shadow Caesar. I don't think they will. At this point, they do let it go, and in comes that very squishy Steel-type Pokemon. We go instantly for the Hydro Cannon here, but an amazing catch by our opponent, I suppose, means that now our Hydro Cannon is going to be a little bit less efficient here. But honestly, I'm kind of fine with this. I know with that chip damage, I can just shield a single time, just tap my phone screen, and make it so I can farm this Gelatin all the way down with just Astonish damage. Without that Hydro Cannon, they'd get to 2 moves, but thanks to that Hydro Cannon here, I'm able to just completely knock out that Gelatin, get to 2 charge attacks against this Shadow Caesar, and we should be able to just whittle down this Pokemon as much as we can with our Drifblim. In comes an Icy Wind here. It does draw that shield. In comes our next Icy Wind. At this point, while it won't be enough to knock out, it will put them into a farm down range, and we have a full Hydro Cannon left over on our Swampert in the backline. They do throw a Charge Move here at the last second, but I mean, at this point, we still have our shield, we still have our Swampert. There's not much they can do. We Astonish down that Shadow Caesar and take the win here. GG to our opponent. Next game, Swampert into Dedenne. Fantastic lead matchup here. Let's see what our opponent has for Swampert in the back. They end up instantly safe swapping here with a Golisopod, a Pokemon that honestly is a little bit tricky for our team, but I know we do have play into it. While we are going to take a couple of charges here, I know that if I shield the first one up, go for an Ice Wind, debuff them, and farm them all the way down, we're going to be in a good spot against that Dedenne later on this game. Icy Wind number 1 being thrown, our opponent does opt to let it go, so at this point I can farm them all the way down. I'll be taking a debuffed Aqua Jet here, which is not going to do anywhere near as much damage, and these, what are they called, Fury Cutters? They're not doing too much damage to our Drifblim, saying we resist it with both our Flying and our Ghost typing. In comes the Dedenne here, and I know at this point I can likely get his shield back. Shadow Ball would basically one-shot them. They probably don't want to have a 3-on-1 in the backline. They do end up shielding, and now our Astonish is putting them deeper into the green here, I guess almost into the yellow. And now our Swampert comes back in, final Pokemon revealed as a Jellicent, and we should be in a fantastic spot to win this game. Drapion doesn't even have to win this matchup per se if I want to win this one. I just need to make sure I can whittle down this Jellicent, just land a single crunch here, and there it is. We land that crunch. Now they're in fast move farm down range. I can even CMP on this Aqua Tail, guaranteeing that at this point, even our Swampert could take down this Jellicent. Aqua Tail coming through, it does, I guess, not even get a shield. They do survive, just barely, which does make sense. Jellicent is pretty bulky, and Aqua Tail is resisted by the Water-type Pokemon. In comes the next move here. I can just let my Drapion go, though at this point, I can come in with our Swampert, Mudshot down, or go for moves against that Dedenne when it comes back in. Dedenne might go for a Parabolic Charge bait, but honestly, it doesn't really matter if they do. They still need to go for another Parabolic Charge, as well as potentially a Play Rough to knock us out. I know even if they have a Play Rough right now, they're not going to reach another Charge move after this, so I should be in a very good spot to win this game. They actually do go for the Parabolic Charge here. A bit of misplay by me going for the Hydro Cannon. You know, I'm very used to the old Swampert here. I go for Hydro Cannon 99% of the time. I realize on the second move, might as well go for Sludge. It is super effective into the Dedenne here. But, you know, Hydro Cannon probably would have knocked out anyway. And Swampert able to Mudshot down that Jellicent, just barely taking us a win here in that game. GG to our opponent. Next game, man, who would have thought? A Shadow Caesar in the lead. A fantastic Pokemon in the current meta, but a Pokemon that is very awkward for us to face off against. With that said, though, we have been able to have a decent win rate against them today. Let's see if we can continue that in this match. In comes our Hydro Cannon. Our opponent is playing out this matchup. We've seen a lot of Caesar kind of just swap out at some point in the middle of this matchup here. So let's see if they do want to play out the 2 shields. I'm going to no shield, hope for no Trailblaze. Luckily, we do not get one shot here with our Swampert. We're able to reach a Hydro Cannon, but on CMP with this next Night Slash, I want to get their shields down, so I will shield these attack up. In comes that Night Slash here. It does end up getting our shield, but we can land this Hydro Cannon, either knocking them out or potentially drawing the shield from them. They do end up going for the shield there. I come in with our Shadow Drifblim and are met by one of maybe the worst Pokemon I could see, the Furret. This is not ideal, obviously, for a Ghost-type Pokemon. Sucker Punch doing a lot of damage to us, Astonish doing almost no damage to them, but I can debuff them here with Icy Wind, and our opponent will throw a Charge Move here at the last second, but I know there's likely going to be a Ghost-type in the backline. Shadow Caesar is almost always paired with a Ghost-type Pokemon, so coming in with our Shadow Drapion, building up as much energy as we can still potentially win us this match. These are debuffed Swifts and debuffed Sucker Punches. I know I can survive these moves. Our opponent does go for that Swift here almost instantly, another one following very shortly after, and I just need to build up as much energy as I can. In comes our move here. I know Aqua Tail should be enough to knock them out from this range. Poison Sting putting in a lot of work, and now, I mean, Shadow Caesar is still around. It has a bit of HP on it. Honestly, those Bullet Punches would do a lot of damage to us here. If it does come in, I think I have to instantly knock them out to prevent getting farmed down by whatever their final Pokemon might be. But no, they end up coming in with that final Pokemon. It's going to be the Jellicent, as we expected. That Ghost type pairing with the Caesar is so common this season. Crunch ends up nearly one-shotting them here. Our opponent thinking about what to do. I have back-to-back charge moves now. They go for a catch, it looks like, on that Shadow Caesar. But honestly, I'm so fine with this. That Bullet Punch potentially could have knocked us out. So by getting this thing out of the way and still being able to reach another Crunch is going to win us this game. Crunch coming through against the Jellicent should finish off this game. GG to our opponent. Very close match. Shadow Drapion putting in so much work, getting a complete endgame sweep. All right, next game, Diggersby in the lead matchup here. This is a good lead scenario, but it isn't as comfortable as some Pokemon might be into Diggersby, mainly because they actually have a lot of neutral damage against us. They say swap a Galarian Corsola, and we don't have a hard pivot to this. I mean, Shadow Drapion is a good response to this Pokemon, don't get me wrong, but it's not like a Diggersby counter swap where it just completely sponges the energy. Shadow Drapion is going to take actual damage from Power Gems, and Astonish, while resisted, is a very powerful fast move, so it will add up against us over time. In comes our Crunch. It does end up putting them low, not quite enough to knock out, but we have an Aqua Tail loaded as well. We can get a decent amount of damage, likely knock out or draw a shield from this Corsola. We do end up seeing our opponent let that move go. I'm going to go for the Aqua Tail here, and it seems like our opponent might be able to farm us down. At this point, I don't know if I should just swap out here, because I do have two Pokemon good into this Diggersby, but maybe Switch Advantage could also be more helpful for us in this game, so I'm going to let all of that energy go. Unfortunately, get a one-turn lag on entry here, which means we do miss out on a Mud Shot. Hopefully that's not going to matter here this game. Scorching Sands does put us pretty low here, but Shadow Feraligatr in the backline is going to be a bit of a tricky Pokemon to overcome. I know that our Shadow Driftbloom can do a one shield, or two shield rather, farm down against this Pokemon, have a ton of energy left over in the backline. But yeah, this is not looking great because the Shadow Claws are putting us deep into the red, into range where a single Fire Punch, even after two debuffs, will likely knock us out. In comes a charge move here. Hydro Cannon will end up drawing our final shield. We have two Icy Winds ready to go. We have a lot of energy as well on our Swampert. But man, this Diggersby, I think it might be able to reach a Scorching Sands. And even after two debuffs, I don't know if my Swampert can survive. In comes our Icy Wind here. Second one will draw that shield. They still have another shield left over. I am 3 Mud Shots away from my next move. I did get denied a turn here earlier on, so if that ends up mattering, if I could potentially get a move, yep, like that right there, that would have been fantastic. But unfortunately, that one turn lag costing us that one Mud Shot, which means we are not able to CMP, and our opponent is going to be able to win this game there. GG to them. Sometimes I guess the game messes up and loses you a match. All right, next game, Shadow Caesar up against our Swampert. I mean, we've seen this lead so many times today. What else could I say at this point? Although our opponent is going to play it out in a more interesting manner. They instantly swap out to a Dusclops, and I have to imagine they're trying to bait out a Pokemon like my Shadow Drapion. I ended up going for a catch on a Shadow Punch here. I banked so much energy on our Swampert, and I'm hoping at this point our Shadow Drifblim in the backline will line up into a Pokemon like that Jellicent that we might expect to see. In comes an Ice Punch here. We do survive that move pretty comfortably. We go for a Crunch against this Dusclops, and at this point I have so much energy. Let's see if they want to try to flip this matchup, but I don't think they really can. Crunch does end up putting them deep into the red. I know I do survive a move here. No real reason to go for a shield on this attack. Our opponent goes for that Ice Punch. We survive. In comes our Aqua Tail to try to snap them down instantly after. I don't want a Bullet Punch farm down against us before I can get this energy off, and we do knock them out. They come in with that Shadow Caesar, knock us out, and we have so much energy on our Swampert, we should still be in a good spot. But look at this. They do go for the catch once again on the Jellicent, but I'm fine with this. We've seen what that happens to this Jellicent later on, or in this matchup, right, where I can just go for that one shield farm down after that Hydro Cannon ends up landing. We can just go for that one shield, get all of this energy against that Shadow Caesar, and we should be in a very comfortable spot to win this game. In comes that Shadow Caesar once again. We can get two debuffs onto them, and then hopefully come back in with our Swampert and not give them a huge farm down here. Honestly, the trickiest way that they could end up winning this game is if I do not have the opportunity to swap out, if they get a full farm down against us, and then Trailblazes can start being thrown into our Swampert. Ice Wind number 2 has already been thrown, but we can't swap just yet. They're getting so much energy here. This could be bad. I'm going to have to shield up a move. If they go for a Trailblaze, I think I win the game, but a Night Slash Bait, which is exactly what they go for, will allow them to reach another move right now. I think there's a chance we survive this, though. It's a double debuff non-stab Trailblaze, a 1 HP survive. Swampert able to just barely hang on and take us a win there. GG to our opponent. Very, very close match. Next game here, Shadow Kanto Ninetails, one of the best lead matchups we could see. They instantly stay swap a Shadow Marowak. Honestly, potentially should have gone for a Hydro Cannon chip and dip to get a shield advantage from this thing, but honestly, I think Shadow Driftblim is still in such a good spot here. We can shield up Peroxides, overfarm so much energy, and make sure that Ninetails is going to have to give us shields in the back by going for Shadow Balls potentially, or if they let that move go, I'm going to have a 3-on-1 against the endgame matchup. Let's see what our opponent's going to do. Icy Wind comes through, knocks out the Marowak. Do we see the Ninetails come back in, or will they bring in their final Pokemon? No, it is the Ninetails. I'm going to go instantly for the Shadow Ball, guarantee a shield back from our opponent. Shadow Ball being thrown, our opponent going to go for the no shield. Down goes the Ninetails, and in comes the Galarian Moltres, a Pokemon we have so much play into in the backline. We can go with our Shadow Drapion, spam out these Aqua Tails. Although if they can potentially knock us out with a Fly and farm us all the way down before we can get some shields down, it could be a little bit awkward for our Swampert. But I know Fly, while it is an efficient move, is not going to one-shot us here. I think I can survive this, still get to 2 more Aqua Tails, and as long as we can, we should be able to pretty comfortably win this game. We have the back-to-back Aqua Tails. Our opponent saw that as well, and we're able to win. Next matchup is a Swampert into a Lantern here, actually. Don't see Lantern too often in the Go Battle League. Unfortunately, it is running a Water Gun, which while this is a decent matchup for Swampert, it's not as good as you might expect. We know that Surf is a pretty efficient move as far as damage goes. It's not as cheap as it used to be, but it still does do a decent chunk of damage, so I do have to shield this up. And while Sludge is an efficient move on its own as well, I know that these water guns are adding up against us, and I need to go for 2 charge attacks to knock them out. They don't even stay in that matchup. They come in with the Shadow Caesar here, a Pokemon that my Shadow Drifloon can counter swap into, but this is going to be pretty tricky. I have to go down 2 shields in this matchup, go for the Icy Wind to knock them out before another Night Slash will be reached. I don't know what they have in the back, but this could be kind of tricky. Icy Wind knocks them out. What is their final Pokemon going to be? I'm down 2 shields at this point. I'm hoping that our Shadow Drapion has play into it. And while it is a Galarian Moltres, that thing's about to sweep us with 2 shields and an energy lead. Unfortunately, not much that we could do. GG to our opponent there. Next game. Yikes, Golisopod lead. Not the easiest lead to see. It is on Shadow Claw as well, which honestly might just be worse here for us. While it has a little bit less faster pressure into our Swampert, it makes it so our Shadow Drifloon in the backline is much worse into this Pokemon. But I do know that we can kind of two-shot them here with Sludge, potentially stay in this lead matchup for just a second, maybe get to a second Sludge here if our opponent lets us, and either get a shield advantage or at the very least whittle down this Pokemon so we don't have to deal with it quite as much with our Drifblim. In comes our next Sludge. Our opponent likely will shield this up. They're going to go for a full farm down from the looks of it here, but our Shadow Drapion is not going to let that happen at all. In comes the Shadow Kanto Marowak, and I do have the ability to just barely outpace him to 2 Aqua Tails. I have the back-to-back right now. Our opponent does have 1 shield remaining, but do they want a double shield before I've used any shields myself this match? In comes the CMP actually here. I would absolutely love it right now if our opponent shields this attack up. No, they do let it go. Probably a smart play. We will likely see the final Pokemon come in right now. No, it's going to be the Golisopod. I guess I'll be forced into throwing energy against us, which is hopefully going to be good for us in the end game. We don't know what's in the backline. I think if they're this scared of our Shadow Drapion, might as well shield this up for just a second here, but man, they had so much energy. I can't double shield. I need a shield for my Shadow Drifblim, and potentially we can still astonish this all the way down. In comes our Shadow Drifblim, their final Pokemon revealed as a Rock-type Pokemon, but potentially the best Rock-type I could see here, saying it is also part Grass-type. They're not running Acid, they are running Bullet Seed, which means they are a little bit spammier to these charges, a little bit less faster pressure, but because our Shadow Drifblim is such a strong Pokemon into this pick, as well as so much faster pressure across the board into their Golisopod, we should be able to win this game. They let the move through, we go for a catch on our Swampert, and at this point, I think we should be in a very good spot to win this match. Our opponent actually went for a Grass Knot there. Maybe they thought the game was over, maybe they were calling the catch attempt, I don't even know, but at this point, we can farm them down. Golisopod way too low on the backline, we're able to win the game. Yeah, Swampert put in a lot of work here today, and pairing it up with one of my favorite picks in this season, the Shadow Drifblim, was a fantastic pairing. I know Swampert plus a Flyer has been a tale as old as time here in the Go Battle League. Shadow Drifblim, one of my favorite Flyers in this season, and Shadow Drapion as well. Just one of the most solid Pokemon right now. Even with that Crunch nerf, it still puts in a lot of work in this meta, and this team as a whole went 80% win rate today, 12-3 record, as I said. It's a very fun team, very meta if you want to try it out. So if you want to climb a bit in the Go Battle League, give this team a go. Well, thank you so much for watching today's video. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.